everybody. Welcome to another edition of A Chapter a Day Keeps the Doctor Away. My name is Alan, otherwise known as Hisui, and I'm from ReverseThieves.com as well as the Speakeasy podcast. And this time, I'm looking at Chapter 435 of Hayate the Combat Butler, otherwise known as Memory of a Dream. And I myself had a little trouble figuring out when this chapter was set. At first, I thought that it was set in the present, and that Nagi's grandfather and a little Athena were plotting in the present and telling us about the King's Jewel. But as the chapter went on, I realized that I guess our key to when this was set was supposed to be the opening splash page where we see a little kid Hayate. But those splash pages don't necessarily have anything to do with anything in the main story. I mean, I doubt that just before the last chapter started, Hinigiku was being a magician at a casino. Maybe that happened, but I'm really doubting it. I think that it was a gambling thing. It was about those new cards that come with the limited edition chapter 39 of Hayate. And so they were playing a gambling game. So they just decided to have Hinigiku in a sexy magician's outfit like she was Zatanna. More than this is canon. So, when you see the little kid Hayate, I thought it was more thematically linked than this is, our establishing shot. I mean, it's happened, but it didn't look like one of those splash pages. It just looked like, this is what I wanted to draw this week, or this is what I had to do to have a cover page. So, I mean, I wish Hada had to set that up a little better. But yes, we find out that obviously said in the past when Athena was actually a little kid, not a transformed down into a little kid girl, that she and Mikado figured out that the King's Jewels, open up a road back to that castle if the person holding them has complete and utter despair. They've just basically given up. And we have a little bit of a third wall breaking story where obviously Hada is talking about what has made him despair as a mangaka. But then, I don't think we've officially had this confirmed, but a common fan speculation is confirmed that, in fact, the Santa that Hayate met in the very first chapter in a dream is actually Nagi's grandfather dressed up as Santa, and now we know why they met, because he takes one of the King's Jewels and he goes around trying to basically make people utterly despair like they were Zezebo Sensei, and then open up a road, to the castle. And so we see, our resident hapless mangaka as the first person that he comes upon, and he's going to write a new series even though he's super poor, and Santa utterly disparages his work, but he didn't like that work, so he's going to come back and write it even better. And since he's now a successful mangaka, obviously that worked out for him. Obviously, it was that rewrite that got him the successful title that he wanted. So, ironically, that plan did not work. And then, he wanders upon young Hinigiku, who is melancholy as always. But she is actually defended by Yukiji. And I'm like, man. Actually, I had to stop this video because it took me a while to remember Yukiji's name. So this is actually like take 4 or something. But, man, I think I'm like the only person who remembers Yukiji at all. Otherwise, she's just, yeah, Hina's less interesting, boozy sister. But we see when she was actually still kind of cool, and she just totally drop kicks Santa before he can molest poor Hinagiku. Well, he isn't going to molest him, but Yukiji didn't know that, and actually her big sister senses were working pretty well. And we get a scene where it is apparent that Hinagiku's parents leaving was not some kind of crazy one-time overnight thing. They had been disappearing for a while. It's just one time it was permanent. So that once again kind of gives her a little bit of a Hayate parallel of the constantly ditching parents who eventually just leave them both. So and we see Hinagiku kind of just being Hinagiku and being like, I got them a present. I'll save that money because they can't do that well. And then we kind of see already cynical Yukiji just, wanting money and being like, yeah, kind of already giving up on them. So I guess Yukiji knew it was coming. But, of course, the last person that he meets is the perfect candidate, who is Hayate, who, basically cannot catch a break just walking through this park. And we see him zero in on Hayate, and that's kind of where the chapter is like, this boy will be perfect. So, I guess the question is, I'm thinking that, basically Santa's gonna get Hayate to despair, which is, what we see in that first chapter of him being like, Santa once told me those who work hard are rewarded, but poor kids get nothing for Christmas, and that probably makes him utterly despair. So I guess we're gonna see them go to the castle again and possibly see them get kicked out, which makes me wonder if it has anything to do with Hisui or her maid. But that should be interesting. And I think it's clearly gonna be, this is like set up for the end of Hayate when they get somebody else to despair while holding a king's jewel. I'm just kind of curious who it's gonna be. I mean, the obvious choice is Hayate, but I'm wondering if it's gonna be Nagi. Nagi is gonna have one of the king's jewels, despair, and then kind of get kidnapped to the golden, basically Beatrice's golden land, and then, the gate will close, and, if I was, Hada, or my prediction of Hada is, they'll basically have to have a funny chapter or two where they try to make Hayate despair so much that he can open up a way to follow them, and like probably for once everything will go good for him, kind of an ironic turn. When he wants things to go bad, they won't. And so that's what, that's predicting far in the future. Other things might change, but I just thought that was an interesting, like, this could be the seeds of how the series, the big finale is. So I'm thinking, since there's more than one King's Jewel lying around, I'm thinking Nagi. But somebody like Hina would be, I feel like they might try again with someone like Nishizawa, who, looks like she's a good candidate, but will actually wind up having a really good fortune. But I'm thinking Nagi is going to be kind of who they end with. And kind of, once again, Nagi kind of getting kidnapped to being, and taken to the, the castle as the last thing. But, we'll see where Hayate's going. Other than that, really kind of curious to see what happens in 436. Do they open up the gate, or is something else going to intervene? But, part one of make Hayate the most miserable human being on the planet so we can open up a gate to get whatever treasure lies at that castle. Is this the prologue or part one? I guess we'll see that next time. But other than that, see you guys later.